Well, that was a decent can crack today. Not great. Got to get the soundboard hooked back up. Fellas and Filettis, welcome to the Gabbin' and the Games for Memorial Day, at least here in America, May 27th. It is nice to see everybody. Thank you for joining me. I look like a fisherman. Ha-ha! Because it's kind of cold here in San Diego. It does not feel like the unofficial start of summer, but it is. I saw somebody, an author I follow, she said, welcome to Jimmy Buffett season, if you give a fuck about the late Jimmy Buffett, which you should, because there you go. But welcome to your summer. Listen, I got to tell you, in America anyway, I mean, I think we're the only ones that celebrate. It's American holiday, but it's supposed to be a holiday about the fallen soldiers. And don't get me wrong, man, I am absolutely down with the idea of having a national holiday, which is just like, fuck it, the summer has begun. I'm totally there. But I think it's weird that we've marbled it into the Memorial Day, the holiday that's meant to 99% of the population in America probably doesn't think a lot about what this holiday is even about. And even though I disagree 90% with most of the shit that we send the soldiers to do, that ain't on them. And I really think we as a society should find a better way to sort of celebrate them, other than just, of course, guaranteeing housing and mental health support and no taxes. I think if you fight for the American people, you come back, you don't have to pay taxes, or at least federal taxes. That's what I think should be happening. But yeah, it's not very hot here. It's been kind of overcast today. It doesn't really feel like San Diego at all. I understand some of you. There you go, Mute Mo. I totally look at the Gordon's Fisherman. Come on now. I understand that some of you are watching the Celtics. I hate the Celtics now, but I only hate them because I watched that movie or the series on HBO called Winning Time about the LA Lakers legacy, dynasty, whatever. And it just absolutely made me hate the Celtics. But I don't know if that's an accurate portrayal of them in the movie, the guy who owned it and all that shit. But I'm just like, fuck the Celtics. I don't know anything about basketball, though. I did watch a little bit last night of that Caitlin Clark, because I've been hearing a lot about her being just staggeringly talented. And, you know, I watched some of her greatest shots from last season. And yeah, fuck. She's amazing, man. She's amazing. I mean, no, really, Jaffe. She's amazing to the point, though, that you don't, I mean, I don't even see her set up 3-pointers. It's just like, she's like a robot. It just happens without any delay or any prep. I'm sure there's a lot of prep that goes on, but you don't see it. One Winged Angel says, listen, a lot of people join the military just to be able to kill. I literally have friends who went to Iraq for that reason. Now, ironically, they have PTSD for killing people. I mean, look, look, I don't like war. I don't like violence. I only like violence when it comes to protecting yourself and your loved ones. But certainly if you're going to put on a uniform in any country and go fight for the 1%'s best interest, which functionally is really all we're doing, I got nothing but respect and love for those people that do it. But, you know, not their mission. I'll tell you that. Anyway, whatever. I'm not really here to talk political. I'm certainly not here to talk basketball because I don't know that shit. I'm here to talk the goddamn video games. Now, let me tell you something. I'll tell you something briefly real quick. There's a lot going on. Believe it or not, for a holiday, there's some interesting news going on, and there's some really cool games that are available this week. I spent a lot of the weekend playing Dave the Diver. I had already played, I never finished it, of course, because I'm me, but I played probably 15 hours of it when it first came out, adored it. And then I was like, you know what, I want to go back and I want to play the Godzilla DLC and stuff. And so I picked it up on PlayStation 5 because it's right now available on PS5 for their monthly free games and stuff. Or maybe it's in the collection, I don't fucking know. But anyway, and I can't stand playing it on PlayStation 5. They don't let you adjust the controls, and I don't need to go in and map each individual control, but they don't even give you an option. And so what they do, Dave the Diver, when he goes underwater, he has an aiming sort of arc with a harpoon that you stop in place and you can kind of aim to the right, like roughly 180 degrees. And then you've got a button that you do to fire it. But they have those buttons so poorly placed. Yeah, you can, Jojo D says you can map the buttons on the PS5 itself, but then what you end up getting into is the buttons you want to use for the aiming then kind of discombobulate all the other buttons that are used in other contexts outside of the diving. And so it's just really weird that they would have gone with that and that they wouldn't have offered a couple of options. So I actually, though, went back and I've been playing the same game on Steam again because I can't, and it's amazing how much easier it is when you have your mouse to aim in that game, especially with the button mapping, but it's still delightful. And if the only place you have to play it is on PS5, you probably won't know anything's wrong, but I find myself missing the undersea creatures that are attacking me often on the PS5, which sucks because like Gun says, there is a lot of great, there's a lot of great stuff. Why does the screen keep going black? There's a lot of great stuff in it as it relates to DualSense features. That's true, 100%. Listen to this. Grant, we'll talk about that in just a second. Grant's asking about the new Fortnite. Yeah, I've been playing some of that today as well. In fact, let me bring this some of this stuff up. I don't know what's happened to my Discord screen. Let me just do one quick check. But anyway, as you know, there it is. This is the show. If you want to call in and okay. So Awesome Tatum says it fucking rocks on PS5. Great haptics. Come on, Papa. I'm not. Look, all I'm telling you, man, is if you're looking at your screen here, check this shit out. If you are, let me get rid of this. If you're looking at your screen, you ain't seeing shit. Come on now. Add to stage. There we go. If you're looking at your screen, here's little Dave the Diver right here. And this dude is like, you know, here's what it is. I'm telling you, if you've got your DualSense and you, in order to do the aiming, you hit X, which is bizarre. No, yeah, you hit X just to go into aim mode. And then you hit R2 to actually fire. And you're having to move around pretty frequently and pretty fast underwater to avoid the sharks and things that want to kill you. And you basically, I mean, I certainly can't fucking, I can't survive that long at all when I'm playing it with the DualSense. But maybe if that's how you got used to it, it doesn't matter. Point is great. If that's the only place you can play it there. Bukaki, I will, once again, the lighter didn't work the other night when I tried to burn you in your bed, but I will burn you in your sleep tonight, and you will know as you pass away and lose your essence, whatever that's worth, ain't much. You will know, Bukaki Drive-By, that I was the one that ended your life force, and it was a joy for me to do. Okay, so I'm playing Dave the Diver. Yeah, to the point of Grant. He says, Jaffe, you played the new Fortnite season. I think you'll love it because Car Combat, Twist Mel throwback. You know, Fortnite is the game that continually delivers over and over and over. I love Fortnite. I'm having a great time with it. This is the new season that just dropped. And yeah, it's called Wasteland. It's clearly inspired by the Mad Max movie that's out without the Mad Max license. Not that they probably want it now, given how expensive it would have been to purchase and given how poor the movie's doing, although here it's a great film. But yeah, they've always had cars that you can lean out and shoot and stuff, but they've actually really doubled down on the vehicle combat with cars and machine guns and missile launchers and grenade launchers that you can use, your buddies can use, depending on the weapon you pick up. It's still embedded in the core Fortnite. So, I mean, they've got like the battle bus that's actually in the battle and stuff. It's cool. It's very, it's very people who want car. I mean, I don't think they have a mode, although you could usually make a mode that is just, car combat only, but it's fun. It's a really fun game. It's gotten better every season. And even though I don't think the battle pass this season has too much in terms of cool cosmetics, I think it's, the concepts and the level changes and the focus on sort of Mad Maxian vibe is pretty fucking cool. I just found out oh no, Boost. Okay, wait. Oh God. Okay, well now I read it and I'm going to read it. but I'm sorry about it. I just found out my dad might have cancer, says Boss Man. Not sure how I will be able to cope. Any helpful advice? Well, first off, what kind of cancer is it? Because obviously, I mean, I'm not making light of cancer, but there's a lot of cancer these days that is becoming more and more successful when it comes to curing it. But assuming that, my dad had cancer, my dad had prostate cancer. And he ended up, they literally put some of radioactive beads in his butthole. And in about 6 months, it was gone. The only thing he couldn't do in that time was like hold the new baby on his lap because, the radiation would seep out into the child. But short of that, but then you've got some serious forms of cancer, esophagus cancer. Okay. So is that, I don't know how curable that is. Is that a pretty good prognosis or no? But here's what I will tell you briefly, and we'll get back to video games. Oh, he's 70. Oh, good Lord. Okay. Well, what I will tell you, George Jones says, my dad came down with cancer last year. I don't think you come down with cancer like the cold. Got surgery and got some treatment, and now he's back to normal. Good luck to you and your family. Absolutely. But what I will say, though, is, and I don't say this in a way that I'm being flip about it. All I can tell you is I lost both my parents over the last 9 years, 8 years, and the fear of losing them was so much worse than the actual act of losing them. I'm not joking. I mean, I'm not acting like, oh, it was no big deal. Yeah, of course we cried, we mourned, it was sad. I still miss them. I think about them all the time. But I think one of the scariest things about losing your parents is more of the idea, because you don't have any, you have no frame of reference of what it means to be on this planet without that consistent, continual, always there support, assuming you had good parents that offered you that, which I did. And it sounds like maybe you did. But when they go, it's sad and you mourn properly. But it doesn't bring your life to a halt in the way that you thought it would. Most of it's the fear of, I can't envision life without those people. They've been here since I've been conscious. So I wish you well. I hope your dad does well with it, with the treatment, but I will tell you, I'll tell you what a lawyer I no longer speak to anymore told me, because I had a big deal with Sony I was trying to sign, and this guy's like, he didn't call me back, and he just kept pushing and pushing and pushing the deal out. And finally, Sony seemed like, what the fuck is going on? And I finally just called him, and I was just like, dude, they're going to walk, blah, 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 blah. And I was yelling. He says, don't you ever yell at me. I'm like, dude, go fuck yourself. And I haven't talked to him since. But one of the things because I'll yell, you fucking work for me, bitch. Fucking yell at you if you're not getting your job done. But anyway, the point being, though, is he said to me before we had that falling out, I went to Alabama to be with my dad the last time I saw him. And he said to me, which I thought was great advice, he's like, the nice thing is, he's not going to be around that much longer, and just really be present with him and be there for him. And I'm so glad that I got to do that. So depending on if your dad does take a turn for the worst, and I hope he doesn't, just make sure you're around, or as much as you can be. I don't agree with you, Ghetto God. He says, for most of us, losing our parents will be the hardest thing we ever go through in life. I don't agree. I've been through it. I will tell you that losing your parents seems to feel that way. But if you're an adult, as a child, sure. But if you're an adult and you've been raised with love and you have flown the coop and you've got your own life together, it's absolutely not the hardest thing you will ever go through in your life. I mean, again, it's subjective. Everybody's mileage is going to vary. But anyway, whatever the point is, best to your dad, boss man. And beyond that, give Fortnite a try. Because look, man, car combat, man. Car combat. Give me a break. It's good stuff. It's good stuff. Listen to this. How did video games change your life for the better? This is a Reddit thread I was reading about. I'm not going to talk about it right now. I want you to just put it in your brain pan and think about it. My face. Yeah, I got to figure that shit out. My face is covered. I got to move those things. I read this. I'm going to talk about it with you guys a little bit later in the stream, but I want you to just kind of let it go into your brain and settle a little bit. because we're going to talk about it later in the show. But it's like, beyond just entertainment, what have you benefited from video games? We'll come back to that, but I want that to live in your subconscious and do a little dance and a jig. Listen to this. Consider your invitation letter to Silent Hill, says Konami. They send this out this evening. It says May 30th, which is 3 days away, 4 o'clock California time. Tune into the Silent Hill YouTube channel for the second installment of Silent Hill Transmission, where we'll share game updates, a deeper look at the film. Who cares? A new merch. Who cares? I care about the game updates. Now, look, there's two of these left, right? There's two big games that they've teased, right? There's the Silent Hill remake, which everybody is supposedly suggesting that we're going to see that at the next time Sony decides to show us anything. And then there's Silent Hill F. Now, Silent Hill F is the one, I think it's the first one that's set, here it is while we're talking, I think it's set in Japan. I don't know if they've come out and talked about what kind of game this is. Like, they already put out Silent Hill, the note or the letter or whatever it was called, which I thought was fine, but it was, I've played much better horror games on itch.io that were like free. So I was just like, what is this thing? And then Silent Hill Ascension, I tried to hang in there for more than the first episode, but I just thought it was absolutely, it was a neat idea. But if you're going to build your foundation or you're going to build your path to success on, we want to be like a TV show and we want the audience to engage with us like it's their favorite show, that's fine. And their design wasn't bad to get someone to do that, but it wasn't well written. I mean, a good show requires a great pilot to make you go, oh my God, I can't wait to see what's next. And if you did, actually watch that first episode, it was boring as shit. It was absolutely boring as shit. So Zero says there's also the one by No Code. Well, which one is this? So there's F is left. There's Silent Hill remake from Bloober Team, which hopefully we'll see soon. What else? What else is there? What's the other one? But this one, I guess, is a straight up game, or I don't, it's been really weird. And what's been even more weird about it all is just how poor they've been so far. It's like, why are you guys jumping through all these hoops to try to reinvigorate or resuscitate the brand when you clearly don't really care about putting in the work at the executive level, at the publisher level, to make sure that, so I don't have any real interest in any of this shit. Not because I wouldn't normally, but because so far they're batting zero. I mean, well, let's see. They've released 2 products. They've been shit. They've got another product coming out soon, which is the remake, which is from a developer that is mostly consistently disappointing. So, but you're saying the other one is called Silent Hill Townfall? Let's look at that real quick. Silent Hill Townfall. Okay, so this is a survival game from No Code. Okay, when is this? It's a spinoff. Okay, this is the Annapurna one. So I have a little bit more faith in the Annapurna one simply because it's coming from Annapurna, and they tend to be pretty good developers or publishers. Their game just came out, that Lorelei and the Evil Eye or some such nonsense. That's that apparently is getting some good reviews. Awesome says, I'm bored of Silent Hill, to be honest. The thing with Silent Hill is it's a nostalgia play at this point. There's nothing inherently creative about it or interesting about it if you didn't grow up with the brand. I know there's lore, and I know you can say, oh, what about the nurses? What about Triangle Head? What about this? What about Sarah? All that. I get it. I'm not saying there's no content there. I'm just saying that there's nothing inherently clever or interesting. If you were to put this out and say, hey, it's called The Dark Seaboard or something, nobody would be like, oh my fucking God. Oh my fucking God. So, we'll see. And I'm just not real pro in Konami, man. I just think they've been shit in the bed lately. So we'll see. Did you play Silent Hill back in 2001 or not? No, I did not. Well, I played it like in the office for about 20 minutes, and it was, it's not the kind of game you play in the office and, you're like, oh my God, you got to settle in and be in the headspace and all that stuff. And it's very slow intentionally, and it's very moody and slow burny. But I did go back and try to play it a couple years ago, and I still couldn't really, couldn't get into it. Wayne says I'm interested, but I am 35 and grew up with it. It's the boomer IP. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Absolutely. 100%. Shame on you, Mute Mo. Mute Mo says I always confuse Team Bloober with the guys who did the Demon Souls remake. Good Lord. You couldn't be any different. You couldn't be any goddamn different. We got, the Ninja You Love to Hate, says I'm having to assume that's a really bad racist play on words. I could be wrong, but it seems like that's what we're going for. I dug the medium. Bloober can get it done. Let me just tell you something. The medium was so close, in my opinion, it's subjective, of course, no shit, Jaffe, to being genuinely really fucking good. And all it would have taken was about 3 more months in the goddamn oven. Because a lot of the problem was, the walk speed was just a little bit too slow. A lot of the hot spots that had the little glowing lights, they were just too fucking subtle. Just lots of little things that, I remember, I've told this story before. Hell, I should have an AI watch my show and just say, you've already told that story. But I remember when the testers came to me on Twisted Metal Black, and they were just like, dude, this game is great, but you shouldn't release this when you guys are planning on releasing it. I don't remember when the original date was. It eventually came out in June. So my guess is maybe October. And we had a big meeting, just me and the testers, and we just went through every single thing that they were like, this is why it's not ready. And I didn't agree with everything, but there was about 30 good notes, where this button was, how fast this did, the field of view of this car, just lots of little things and a couple of big things. And they were so right. And I'm so glad that Sony was like, all right, let's push it to June. I don't know if the medium had that kind of opportunity, but my God, that would have been a really great game. If they just had that, a little bit more time to bake that fucking thing. But, who knows why? It's probably just ran out of money, I suppose. Anyway, but yeah, so I guess we might see some Townfall. We'll see some Z. I cannot imagine they won't show us. I can't imagine they will not show us the remake this Thursday. Is it Thursday? It's the 30th. So yeah, today's 27th, 29th. Yeah, Thursday. And then of course, as you guys know, next week is the all the game stuff starts. Is it next week? The Summer Game Fest? I think so. It's the 7th. I don't know. Sometime soon. We'll be streaming all that shit. Blair Witch wasn't bad either, says Ninja. I didn't like that one either. I loved the graphics, but I thought it was quite dull. But I'm glad you enjoyed it. Xbox was dying for any sort of exclusive. It needed the medium, says Admiral. Yeah, and it needed it to be great. Which means I have said ad nauseum why they didn't send out some team members and go, hey, we know you're not second party, but we want to work with you if you're interested. Using our test department, our play test department, whatever, because we want this it needs to be good for us, man. But they didn't do anything, it sounds like. Okay, let's move forward with the fucking lives. Here's the game I'm kind of interested in, but I'm starting to worry a little bit. Remember this Slitterhead? Slitterhead made by some of the original Silent Hill fellas, and also made by the Siren guys. This was announced in 2021. And we haven't seen anything since. They say that this year is going to be a big year for Slitterhead. Because, not because it's coming out this year, but it says, this is the studio, Bokeh Studio says, 2024 will be a decisive year in which our studio's first title, Slitterhead, will really begin being shown. Given that it will significantly influence our future, it's an important year. So it sounds like they're saying it ain't coming this year, it'll be next year. But this, at least from the trailer they showed, seems kind of cool. Like there's something disturbingly unique and interesting about this one compared to something like all the Silent Hill stuff I've seen. It seems sinister and disturbing. So I am looking forward to it, but we'll have to wait. Maybe we'll see this at the Sony show, man. Give me a fucking surprise, you know? Indica. Oh, I loved Indica. I still have to finish it, but I'm almost at the end of it. I think Indica is a great, I know people say it's not really horror. It's a very sinister, disturbing game, and it's very fascinating. I think it's kind of great. I love it. One of my favorites of the year. Mohan says, I don't think Silent Hill is the kind of game to make a big franchise out of. The game loses its magic after 3 or 4 entries, and there's not really something creative you can do after that. At this point, they either have to remake the old games or kill the series. I mean, you know, I think what Kojima was doing with Del Toro was pretty interesting. I mean, obviously, how much that particular story of PT had anything to do with, what's the guy's name? Is it Ethan Winters, or I'm getting Resident Evil mixed up? But how much of it had to do with that, I don't know. But, you know, brands are like that in games. I mean, Jesus, the Final Fantasy brand, these things never really link up for the most part. So I'm totally down if they want to, you know, totally just redo it and keep the name. Why not? Okay, Ethan Winters was RE8. That's what I'm saying. I don't fucking remember. Who's the guy in the goddamn the Silent Hill? One Winged Angel says the Sacred Symbols boys have a bit where Slitter sounds like a slur, so they say, well, oh, that's terrible. I'm not going to read it. Eddie T says, whatever happened to the Gothic-style Chinese hack and slash game shown at State of Play? Do you mean something like Little Killer Inside or something? Is that the one you were talking about? Is that the one? It was very interesting art style. Little Killer. Is that what it's called? Little Killer Inside or no? The Killer Inside. What the fuck was that thing called? You guys know what I'm talking about. Yeah, I don't fucking know what it was called. But Little Devil Inside. Yeah, let's see. Little Devil Inside. Is that the one you're talking about? Let's see. I mean, it just continues to get, you know, pushed and pushed. I mean, look, this is the problem with a lot of games. They blow your mind with their visual art style, and then they show up and, you know, because, look, this is the biggest danger when you have a studio creatively led by an artist. And I don't mean to knock artists. Artists are brilliant. They're important. But there's so many games you can go to Steam, and it's like, look, or even that new one that just came out recently, the Harold Halibut or whatever the fuck it's called. It's like, look, the whole game was made with stop motion, clay animation. There's another game out where a woman like crocheted or knitted every character. All this shit that, yeah, it looks amazing. But after that wears off, which it will inevitably in a couple of minutes, then you're left with a game that really wasn't created with an intention of design first or interactivity first. So maybe that's what's happening with this. I don't know. Maybe they're just kind of like, yeah, we don't know what the game is. Harold Halibut looks great if you don't know, but I hear it's really boring. Harold Halibut. I think it's on Game Pass right now. The whole thing's done like, you know, stop motion. It's not CG to look like stop motion. It's literally, they built the sets and all that shit, but you know, it's true. Eric says artists are going to get replaced anyway by AI. That's true. Phantom Blade Zero is the game you're talking about. What? Phantom Blade? Let's see. That was a horror game or... this. I don't even remember this fucking thing. Well, who knows, man? Who the fuck knows? But there's so many of these kind of games coming out. I mean, Black Myth Wukong's coming out this year. That's exciting. I'm looking forward to that one. And I hear it's got an easy mode. Talk about the Night with the Devil flick at the bottom of the show. Here's what I'll tell you. One of the reasons I'm running a little bit late today, and I apologize for that, is I was playing or I was watching Midnight with the Devil with Cal yesterday. And he knows I get really scared of horror only when I'm high. So he's like, well, here, take this pen. You should get high before we watch it. I says, okay. And he's like, you're inhaling wrong. You don't exhale it, blah, blah, blah. And so he shows me the proper way that you're supposed to take the dope. And I take it in the way he says, and it hit me like a goddamn hammer. And unlike most people, and I don't think it's a hangover, but I have an absolute, I'm very bad the next day when I get really high. And so I'm really kind of just, woozy and shit like that most of the day. So I'm running late. I apologize. But the point is, the movie I thought was great. I thought it was really creative and interesting and a fresh take on things. I was a kid who grew up in that time period. So like the 70s with shows like That's Incredible, shows like Johnny Carson. If you've never seen, and we're going to get back to games, I promise, because I want to answer, I want to talk to Bad Robo about this real quick. If you've never seen a guy named Uri Geller, this clearly was based on Randy, I think it was Johnny Carson. He was this guy that actually worked with the CIA, Uri Geller. He was apparently, finding missing people, blah, 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 whatever. Maybe some of his shit was true. He's still out there today doing his thing. But Randy, Amazing Randy's the guy who actually did, the guy in the movie where he's like, look, I'm a debunker. I've never seen any evidence of anything supernatural. And he walked around with $1,000 check, $1 million check in his pocket. He goes on Johnny Carson. You should watch this. It's really interesting. And he's like, he's going to try to turn the page in a book with his mind. And Geller's, before he does it, he says, well, wait a sec. He goes over, he rips up a bunch of styrofoam from a styrofoam cup. And he puts it on the paper, and then he turns to Geller and he basically says, okay, now do it. And it turns out that he's, I can't do it. Because what he was doing was blowing it with his fucking nose. And Randy's like, look, if you blow with your nose, you're going to blow the fucking, paper away too, the styrofoam. And so, yeah, I mean, this is in my wheelhouse anyway. I really enjoyed it. I have some questions about the ending. I'm not sure what I'm supposed to take away from it. But if you like horror and you like unique horror, it's on Shudder right now. I think it's quite good. It's a lot of fun. Okay. I like how they got into the Grove stuff, right? I don't want to spoil it for people. Jaffe, are you excited to have Last Stand Media visiting San Diego? Do you have any plans when they visit? I am excited for their show. I'm very excited to, hopefully that will be when Colin and I hook up and we do some DMT. And then I hope I can convince him to, afterwards, we do a live stream and talk about our experiences. So that's what I want to do when they're in town in September. We'll see. Okay. Halibut is not stop motion animation. Okay, it's stop motion sets though, right? How did they make Harold Halibut? It's like stop motion. Like I think I've seen the sets before, like with the camera. Like they actually built some of this shit. Or are you saying it was all done in the computer and it was made to look like stop motion? I don't know. Thank you, Kevy. Okay. Talking of AWOL horror games, the Routine game team, Lunar Software, have gone completely dark since the re-reveal. I don't even know what that game is. Yeah, who knows? I don't think I can live stream during the trip, and I don't want to. I don't want to have to worry about that. I want to just have the experience. I would like Colin to have the experience. Bukaki said, I want Bukaki to come down and bring some fucking DMT so he can, do it with us and we can get some DMT from the man, because I don't know where to get it yet. And I don't want it to be laced with shit that kills us. But regardless, though, yeah, that's my plan when Last Stand comes to town. Real sets and models were scanned. Okay, gotcha. All right, well, whatever. The bigger point, though, is that, it's another one of those games that looks amazing, but nobody's home. Nobody's home when it comes to the game design, and that's the name of that tune. Listen to this. I just thought it was interesting. I mean, we know that, let me take this off here. We know that when you buy games digitally, you're getting the license. We know you're not actually getting the game. Okay. Where do your Steam games go when you die? Well, you are not allowed to transfer the license. And that's just there are a couple stories about this, because somebody on Reset Era reached out to Steam and said, hey, can I do that? And they said, yeah, no, the licenses can't transfer. But you know what you can do, of course, is leave your Steam library or your password and shit, which I will do. And I was just got me thinking about it, which is like, what are your plans? I have a Steam library that won't quit. I have a PlayStation and an Xbox library that won't quit. I assume I will just give the passwords to my kids. But if they don't want them, I'll probably just give them away I'll just put it out on the internet and like whoever gets it first or something. You ever think about that, Lo? Like, what are you going to do with all your digital passwords and shit? You can't share it with anybody. You are basically giving away your password and your login information. That's all you're doing, right? By the end, I mean, I was surprised to learn this, and please correct me if I have it wrong. But and this is crazy I'm asking this. I mean, I was working on PlayStation 4 as a developer when this fucking thing, I think, went into effect. But am I right in understanding that you are able on PlayStation 4, if I, let's say, go buy, Returnal, and I own it digitally, and if I want to lend it to you, I can lend you that game. I can game share with you, and I don't have to be on my computer, my PS5 or anything. You can just play it. And when I want it, I can't play it when you have it, but when I want it back, I just take it. Is that a real thing? Like, am I right about that? And if I'm right about understanding that, why the fuck is that not? I mean, who does that? Like, it seems brilliant. You'd think people would be doing that all the time, but I never hear about people. No one ever reaches out and asks me. I mean, I know people on the stream that would have been like, "Oh, Jaffe, I want to play this, but I can't afford it right now." And I'm like, if they should have just said, "Oh, well, just game share it with me, and I'll let you borrow it until you finish it." Miscellaneous Gamer says you had to be online too. Okay, so is it over? Is this gone, or is this still a thing that you can do on your PS5? I know you can't do it with Steam, but so Mutant Mo says, I remember in the PS3 days, if you lend a friend your login, they can download games natively. Steam family sharing is good. Yeah, but does it have to be on the same IP address or what? Google has a setting where if you don't log in for X amount of time, it contacts someone, you tell it to, in case you've died. That would be cool. It was playing a stream. It was removed on PS5. Okay. Okay, got it. So it wasn't the fact that I could lend you my game digitally on PlayStation. It was that if I had the game up, it was the thing that they showed off with, like, what was that thing called? The Mark Cerny thing with all the pieces of trash that came together that everybody memed with the knack. That's the thing. Oh, I'm stuck at this boss. Let me call Mutant Mo and you get on and you play it on the stream. Is that kind of what it was? Okay. Yeah, no, that's different. All these things are so, I thought that, share play. All these things are so, a little bit different on this service, a little bit different on that service. I wish this would just kind of get standard. I really do think we've talked about this before, and it applies in all walks, but I definitely think we need a gaming digital consumer advocate lobby group is what we need. Because the European Union has some really great stuff, and we get to benefit from it, like the whole Fortnite thing coming back to Apple. A lot of that stuff is because they've passed laws in Europe. And it's not like they're going to have different law or different builds for different territories of service-based games. Sometimes they do. But anyway, I think it's cool. Okay. There's no restrictions regarding Steam based on location. With my daughter and her husband and his brother, all 4 libraries are available to us all. Interesting. So the only difference is what? You can't play them at the same time? No, I know. Kyle says half of our legislators are older than gaming itself. I mean, AOC at least games. A bunch of them game. But they're the younger ones, and, they're not going to go out there right now and be like, that's my cause. They have other things that are going to put them into, privileged positions in that job. It ain't going to be protecting the rights of people to play Fortnite and shit. So, all right, let's move on though. So, but the bigger point is think about what you're going to do with your games when you die. What's happening with them? What do you got set up? So, Jaffe, what's going to be your last game? What do you mean? The last game I buy? I couldn't tell you. I couldn't tell you. I will tell you there is an author. I don't know if he's still alive. Wrote a bunch of great books. John Irving, called the movie they made. They made a couple movies, but he did The World According to Garp, is what a lot of people know him for. And he was a huge Charles Dickens fan, and he said he saved one book from Charles Dickens that he has not read yet. And he said, if I know that I'm dying, that's what I want to kind of go out with. I want to have one final treat, which is I get to read the Charles Dickens book that I've been putting off reading until that moment. So if you mean that, what is the final, if I knew I was dying tomorrow and I could pick one last video game to play, that's an interesting question. One last time, I would probably play Marvel Snap. Well, that's a tough one, because are you playing it for nostalgia? Are you playing it just to take your mind off the fact you're going to be dead tomorrow? But if you're playing it like I'm playing this to celebrate one of the things I loved more than anything, video games, and it's more of a celebratory play, I think it would probably be maybe Starfield. I know, don't come at me, bitches. Maybe Starfield. Because Starfield to me would give me hope. I don't think I'll be scared of death. But I would say that game is such a hopeful game about humanity and exploration and maybe what comes next. And I would like very much to sort of be in that headspace. Yeah, Eddie T says you'll die looking at loading screens. It's not that bad. Shut up. But there you go. It's a great question, actually. I never even thought about that. But if I could do the Charles Dickens thing with the book and settle in and go, I'm going to play this game. I'm dead tomorrow. I've got 4 hours to play a game before we go off to the celebration of life that is Jaffe, which will, of course, be filled to the brim with massive fans of not just the games, but the streams. My guess would be it would be Starfield, but thank you for the question. Okay. Elden Ring. See, that's a great one, Wayne B. Elden Ring would be in the top 3, right under Marvel Snap. Elden Ring wouldn't be number 1 because it's Elden Ring is like if you want to die depressed. It's such a nihilistic worldview, whereas Starfield is hopeful and bright, and it's like, let's go on adventures even if you're dead kind of thing. So, all right, let us move forward on our little journey. Speaking of games, come on, Jaffe, there's better segues. Hang on, I need the bubbly. Gungan says Jaffe's going to go out trying to get good at Call of Duty. If a game were to give me a heart attack and people were to blame it on the game, it would probably be Ultra Kill, because I have never played a game that has gotten my heart rate up and gotten my adrenaline going as much as that game. That game is it's almost that new game Mad Mullet Jack is almost as good, but no, it's in terms of that achievement of just getting your heart racing. But I would say Ultra Kill does that. I think Awesome Tatum says Balatro is so much better than Snap. There, I said it. It's a very different game. I love them both. They're both excellent. Okay, let's move on though. Let's talk about Hellblade 2. Obviously, nobody expects Hellblade 2 or any of the Day 1 Game Pass games usually to sell that well. I always find that frustrating and obnoxious when people are acting like the sales for, the Day 1 Game 1 whatever weren't great. It was on Game Pass. Like, yeah, of course it wasn't great. No, if you think the Microsoft people, maybe they do. Every other day you see something they do, you go, are these fucking people, did they know how to read, let alone run a company? But you'd assume that they know, hey, if we put Starfield on Game Pass Day 1, we're going to lose a bunch of sales, and we've built the business model around the awareness of that. But regardless, though, even though we don't expect things to do well, when Hellblade 2, which I do like, I haven't finished it yet. Awesome Tatum says, I'm liking it. I finally played it. You know what? Fuck the haters. It's good. It is good. I have not played the first one, so I can't respond to it in the sense of a lot of people say, oh, it's just the same fucking thing with better graphics, which is a lot of games. But regardless, I never played the first one. I played this one. I did not like it at first, but after about 30 or 40 minutes, I settled in and I really, really am enjoying it. And I hope I can finish it. But look where it comes out. This is the most played game. So this is not even sales. This is how many people are playing that particular game right now. And I know it was not God of War. It was not a big crazy action game. But you'd like to think it would do better than this. It premiered at number 23. 23. So then here is the question. Here is the question that is absolutely I think really important in light of this, because forget what Xbox tells you. Xbox has quotes about Arcane, Austin, and going, oh, no, even though the game performed, there was a lot of benchmarks it hit, we're going to work with them. They're gone. We all know that. What they should do, unless there was an exodus of more people than just the creative director, because we know he left before the game shipped. But assuming that team is still there, this is the team that also did Heavenly Sword and DMC. And it's not like they can't do more commercial stuff, but they can do commercial stuff and they can do narrative stuff and they can do great production value. And if they want, they're on record going, we would love our own Last of Us or Uncharted. These guys could easily, I don't know if it would be great or just good, but they could easily be their God of War team or their Naughty Dog team. So I hope they don't look at this, and unless they just don't want to be the team. But it's hard to look at this and go, they're not going to do the same thing to Arcane that they did to these guys. But I hope not. I hope these guys have more vision than that. Well, yeah, but you guys are missing the point. Eddie T and Mecha are knocking on DMC. I'm not saying DMC was a great Devil May Cry game, but it and Heavenly Sword were both very above competent action adventure games. Okay, so if you're one of these hardcore Devil May Cry or Ninja Gaiden guys and you were looking for a level of finesse and nuance in the combat, I absolutely understand what you're talking about. But I'm not talking about them being used as a team that's trying to go after that particular brass ring, because it ain't that lucrative. But you could definitely do a team that does mainstream, really appealing and impressive performance and impressive presentation combat with an action adventure title. And that's a pretty good goddamn bet. But I'm going to read you something in a minute that might be, it might be the end of AAA gaming as we know it when you read this, and I'll show it to you in a second. It was just something I read this afternoon. I didn't hate DMC. I didn't think Dante in that game is as good as Dante in the classics, but it's whatever. I don't really care. But if you're really into DMC, I can appreciate maybe it wasn't for you. Nawdog says Enslaved was Ninja Theory at its best. Yeah, I haven't played that, but I know people still, that's 360 game, Legend of the Monkey King kind of narrative. People say it's excellent. Absolutely excellent. But anyway, this is where this sits right now. So who the fuck knows? Who the fuck knows where these guys are going to be in 6 months from now? I certainly don't. This is what I wanted to talk about as it relates to that. I don't know if you guys saw that. Let me get this. I'm going to move these things. Let me see if I can just do that right now real quick to move the text, the chat. I mean, because it's totally, I need to figure out a way I can move it somewhere else. Let's see. Edit. Can I get the chat and move it? No, I'll figure it out later. I'll figure it out by next stream. Sorry about that, fellas. Okay, I enjoyed Hellblade 2, says Humfridis. There's some aspects you have to tolerate, like the walking speed and the silly shape matching puzzles, but when it's good, it's really fucking good. I actually, once I found the run button, I was okay with it. But yeah, I mean, I think there's enough worth settling in for to appreciate it is what I would say. So, okay, you know, everybody's always talking about Square Enix, and it's like, what the fuck is with these guys constantly always coming out and saying, oh, it didn't perform to expectations. Didn't perform to expectations. It's like, what the fuck? Are there expectations like it needs to cure cancer and, you know, bring about peace in the Middle East and sell some copies? What expectations do these morons have? Well, this guy, he used to be, his name is Jacob Novick, and there was a story that was written, and then he did a really big thread. And I'm not going to read the whole fucking thread to you, but I'll tell you the gist of it, though. But he says, as a reminder, I reported to 2 CEOs of Square Enix for the better part of 10 years. I ran a subsidiary. I also correctly predicted last year that Square Enix was going to break exclusivity. He was what was his job, though? It was a pretty high-ranking job, and I'm trying to find what it was. But regardless, though, he goes into it. And he talks about the reason, not just why the Square games have kind of shat the bed, but the whole fucking audience, the whole fucking industry. And it really is chilling for the future of AAA. The gist of it is, and I'm going to miss some details because it's a very long thread, but I will put it up here for you. I highly recommend it if you are curious about these things, because he's not breaking any NDAs, but he's kind of laying that shit out there for you. And better than I've seen anyone lay it out there really ever, maybe, when it comes to this particular topic. But he's basically saying, he says, you need to understand that the titles that people are talking about were greenlit in 2015 to 2022. You can't view it through the lens of 2023. He says, for example, Final Fantasy 16, which underperformed, would have started pre-production prior to the release of 15, which was released in 2016. He says this is pre-Fortnite era. Yeah, I mean, pre-Fortnite era, Fortnite was like 215 or 16, right? Did Final Fantasy fail to sell? Yeah, I mean, it sold, but it was under expectations. But here was his point, though, and this was really interesting. He said that the issue was that the industry up until this tipping point around 2020, 2018, whatever, was such that they could count on, and they were building on this assumption that had always been correct until then, that there was going to be a new generation of gamers that came into the console market and loved these IPs. And you would also have older gamers that are sticking with gaming. Now, the older gamers sticking with gaming are absolutely correct. But he says the younger gamers, a lot of them don't even have consoles. All the stuff we've talked about before, as everybody knows, they're playing the Roblox, they're playing the Fortnite. And he says because of that, reading the tea leaves wrong, their expectations, which were created when the games were greenlit, and the games were greenlit before Fortnite had really become what Fortnite is, and games like it, they were counting on 2 things. One was that situation of gamers growing into the console market, which is no longer really happening. The other thing, though, and we've heard this too, but he expresses it really, really well, where he's talking about, back then when these decisions were made, he says total audience growth was a reasonable expectation in 2015 to 2022, and still is today. Not only has the industry grown, but each day that new generations come of age, they were coming of age as gamers, meaning your total addressable group, blah, blah, blah. He says, but what happened? Not just to Enix, but to the industry. He says audience behavior patterns were radically different than expected in 2015. The way it used to work, and this is pretty telling. He says the way it used to work, where did it go? Come on, this is a huge monster of a thread. Basically, the gist is, he says the way it used to work is that you'd pick a release date similar to a movie, you'd stick to it, blah, blah, blah. He says we would look at Hitman or Deus Ex release considering whether there was a Call of Duty or Assassin's Creed coming out. At that time, as a gamer, once you finished the most recent game, you were on, you moved to the next one. You were looking for your next title once you finished the prior one. We wanted to be one of the titles to be the next title to fill your gaming needs. And that was sort of how they did it. There was this assumption that not only would there be more gamers coming in, which there are not, but that the gamers that are there would need something to play when the last game they finished was done, or they played was done. But he's like, all the stuff we've talked about with service-based games. He's like, this is why everyone's making service-based games. Because he's quoting this Kotaku article. He says, earlier this month, Kotaku had an article called 9 Great Games We Can't Stop Thinking About. And in one of them, he said, this is the quote from the author of the article. He says, and once again, the author said, another weekend arrives and I realize that I'll be spending most of it playing Fortnite. I'm very close to maxing out on both my Battle Pass and Festival Pass, so that's the plan. I hate how deep Fortnite has its hooks in me to the point where I'm choosing to play it over brand new, cool-looking games, but I can't help it. I must finish these damn passes, get all the rewards, and earn the right to play other stuff until the next season starts up. And he's basically saying that that's another thing that has really been detrimental to the kind of games that I came up with and I came up with making, and that you guys love, or a lot of you guys love, because I know a lot of you guys don't love the service-based stuff. But I just thought it was really interesting to hear an executive lay this out, and he's like this, and when you hear that, it makes total fucking sense. It doesn't. It stops being about why are their expectations so poor, and more about don't blame us. We're making the games, but people are running off and sticking with the 9 or 10 games that are already have people's allegiance. And listen to this. This is telling. This is where he gets into the future. He says, you're also seeing this trend with Ubisoft's Star Wars game. It's not because game companies are penny pinchers looking to fleece their users. It's because this is the only path left to make God damn it, Jaffe. He's talking about where you're like selling a battle pass in a $60 game, or pre-order the game and get a mission unlocked right away. Otherwise, you have to wait a week and earn it, blah, blah, blah. Okay. He says it's not because game companies are penny pinchers looking to fleece their users. It's because this is the only path left to make non-free-to-play service titles workable in the AAA space, given the cost and competition. Something has to give. If Square Enix can't get its cost of development down, and then parentheses says it will go further up, and is getting good reviews but isn't increasing audience, they and the rest of the publishers are going to have to increase price point. Otherwise, live service titles will be all we have left. I mean, when you read it like that, it's kind of hard to... It's still one of those things that I can be sympathetic if somebody's pissed about it, because that's not the way they want the business to go. But when you see it laid out like that, you go, yeah, no, that makes a lot of fucking sense. Like One Winged Angel is trolling, but I mean, there are people like him in real life. He says bullshit. It is penny pinchers. It's like, okay, again, I know you're just taking the piss, but it's like there are people who just, I mean, he's giving you numbers. Math doesn't lie. He's showing you why, and it makes total fucking sense. Normies are playing online games like Call of Duty, 2K, Madden. They were. Difference is monetization, not so much player behavior. No, the difference is Call of Duty now is a service-based game. So yeah, you had the people that were always going to be ride or dies for the kind of Joe Sixpack titles. Absolutely. But you also had a lot of people and younger gamers that were still going, ooh, God of War, ooh, God of War 2, or Gears of War 2, ooh, Gears of War 3, right? Though a lot of those people, a meaningful number of those people, have moved into the service stuff, whether it's Call of Duty Warzone or whether it's Fortnite. I mean, Fortnite, I'm sorry, but, Fortnite and Roblox, and I know that, let's just stay with Fortnite, because a lot of you guys have seen the art for Unreal Engine done through Fortnite. It's just not true, Blackjack. I mean, this is, you either really want to understand what's going on, or you just want to sit in your annoyance and fandom without really being right. And that's fine. Blackjack says Fortnite is for people who don't like video games. It's just, there's nothing about that is accurate at all. Fortnite is a great game. You probably just don't know anything about it in regards to how it's changed over the years. Himmick says, I'm sorry for the people who play Fortnite and Roblox. They need help. I wish AI could come along to communicate who's a troll and who's not. Because if you're not trolling, that's a genuinely interesting conversation to have with someone. Like, why do you think that? Do you know you can go to Fortnite right now and load up just tons of games made by other players that are, some of them are single player, that look fucking great visually, that look like Unreal 5 shit, and you can go on single player adventures. It's a hell of a lot better than Dreams. There's a lot more compelling software on the Fortnite creator tab than you get on Dreams. And I'm not saying that means it's better than the next Naughty Dog game. I'm saying, though, that if you're just your average person, most people are good. They're like, yeah, that's cool. I'm good. I don't need to buy anything else, you know? And the guy's just telling you how it is. Bukaki says, weird how Nintendo has figured it out. Nintendo has it figured out. Epic has it figured out. We'll see if Roblox is able to sort of ever grow out of their reputation. Nintendo's budgets are still going up, but yeah, they understand that the bread in games is buttered with games. Yeah, well, okay, Inspal says Helldivers 2 is better, more fun. Well, I mean, that's subjective, but I know it's great, and I know it's fun, and you know what's interesting about Helldivers 2? It didn't cost that fucking much money, and it's a service-based game. They also charge $40 for it, but you know, that's a janky game, at least when it launched. I don't know if it's still janky, but the animations of a lot of the characters, the cutscenes, the way the NPCs react to you, it's very not first party, but who gives a shit? Most people don't. So again, but here's the thing. I'm only bringing it up. Just because it's frustrating to me that, that people seem confused by it. And when somebody who's in the know, like this guy from Square, instead of going, okay, that seems true, there's not really anything you can do about it other than play games that, you know, start pivoting to indie games, because that's where the juice is now. But you may just have to either wash out of being a fan of games, or eventually it'll get so painful there's not much to play other than service games on your console. You'll head on over to the dark side of indie games and AA games. Because look at this, by the way. Speaking of what we were looking at, I want you to look at something. Look at the top games played, most played on Xbox right now. Right? I know we were looking at this earlier about Hellblade, but service game, service, service. This is being played because of the online service, X-Defiant service. The show I don't know about. I don't know how much that is a multiplayer hit or not. Service, no. Service. Let's call that not service. I mean, I don't know. That one lives in the middle. Not service. I guess that was the GTA. That's the service. Service. Then you've got Hellblade 2, Elden Ring, and then service, right? So, I mean, you know, this is where we're at. And I'm telling you, there are games out there, though. I guess the reason okay, so Eric says we are not confused. We just don't like it and don't want to accept it. And we got to do something about the service games. They're gamers. They're bad people. I don't agree. I know you're joking, but with the last line, but there's nothing you can do about it. But I will tell you, my dog in the fight is, as a guy who loves video games and loves creative, interesting games. I mean, we had a guy yesterday call into the chat, very reasonable, nice dude. And I asked him, has he played Dave the Diver? And he's like, no, I'm not going to play that. I'm like, then how do you know it's bad? He's like, I just don't want to. I don't want to go down that road. I don't want to abandon these kind of big games that I love, even though they're getting worse. And I'm like, okay, but these games are excellent. Eddie T says it's going to get to the point where most games are unplayable due to being all service except Nintendo. Going to be a huge boom for the good old days of retro gaming. Sure, absolutely. Okay. How does PlayStation pivot, says FBI agent? I honestly think if this is the writing on the wall, and it is, there's going to come a point where they're going to have to bring their budgets down. And maybe they're already talking about that with, you know, we saw in the Insomniac leaks Hey, Spider-Man 3 is too expensive. Let's figure out a way to fix it. You know, what do we split up into 2 games? No one really noticed the jump between 1 and 2 anyway, blah, blah, blah. So I'm assuming their budgets will go down. Like Stellar Blade and Rise of the Ronin, I don't think are big budget games, and people seem happy with them. They're not selling great, but they're selling okay. Do you think the next Battlefield should go free to play? Yeah, oh yeah. I mean, what? Think about the games coming out this week. Think about the games coming out this week. There's a game coming out. Let me just jump ahead. I mean, we have Multiverses coming out. And by the way, heads up, if you are a Multiverse fan or plan on jumping back in tomorrow, and I definitely will jump back in, there are some rewards for you if you've played before and if you sign back in before June, I think 11th. So even if you're not looking to play it immediately tomorrow, I do recommend signing in sooner than later so you can get, I think you're going to get, the Battle Pass will come to you for free. You'll get some unlocks. You immediately get Jason Voorhees if you've already played the game, and you return if you were an open beta player, and he's the new character. Obviously, he'll still be in the roster, but he'll go into the storage at times. You'll have to spend money or whatever. Yeah, exactly. Gungan, the new free-to-play game, the new Pac-Man game should have been free to play. It's ridiculous. Absolutely fucking ridiculous. And then, though, there's a game coming out end of the week on the 31st, which I know it's been in a bunch of alphas and betas and all this shit. But I haven't played it. I hear it's just okay, but it's this hypercharged unbox. It looks visually amazing, which is oh, fuck it. Let's just do it. It looks like, yeah, I'm fine with it. It's a website. It's fine. No one's going to die. Maybe not. All right, fuck it. You know what I'm talking about? It's got hypercharged. It's the goddamn game that takes place in the toy store. With toys, hypercharged. The new trailer looks great. But again, and the developer got all pissy because somebody wrote him and pretty much said, your game's going to fail since it's not free to play. And yeah, I mean, I feel bad for the developer because they put their heart and soul into this, but the guy who wrote in, maybe he was just being a dick in the way he phrased it, but I'm sorry, but he's absolutely right. This is dead on arrival if you are going to charge for it. And I hope to God they have a switch that they can easily flip, that after about 2 months where they've made as much money as they can by just selling it, it goes free to play and they actually get a chance of making this a hit. It's dumb. The developer wasn't pissy at all, says Doug. They replied respectfully. They were affected in an emotional way by the email or the message that clearly was not very respectful as it came down the line. So my point is, I thought the response was, sure, he's emotional. I get it. But the guy who sent the message, as poorly communicated as the message was, he's not wrong. He's absolutely not wrong. I think the guy actually said it shouldn't be free to play. He said it should be on Game Pass. So, and some people have played it. I think Awesome Tatum says he actually played this and it looks great, but it wasn't very good. Alter Ego says, is that a Marvel Overwatch for people who are over Overwatch? Well, Marvel Rivals is pretty much Marvel Overwatch, 1-to-1. Not 1-to-1, but and what I've seen of it, I don't think it plays as good as Overwatch, but it's early still. So, the Spillo says, I want to play Multiverses here in Asia. It wasn't available, so I had to use a VPN. I was lagging so bad. Oh, yeah. Is it coming out now? Will it be out tomorrow in Asia? Wayne says, he says, Jaffe, thank you for the super chat, buddy. He says, given the right team with you as the lead, how long do you think a truly next-gen graphics team would take? I don't know, man. I mean, if you're going to just basically make Twisted Metal as is, I would tell you that, I wouldn't do it. I think it's a disaster waiting to happen financially. But if you were to make it as is with next-gen graphics, probably take about 2.5, 3 years. If you were to just kind of basically remake 2012 with some new modes and stuff. Yeah, that's what I would say. Okay. Okay, so Multiverses is coming to Asia. Well, that's good. Yeah, so I mean, I'm gonna fire it up first thing tomorrow morning. I'm looking forward to it. Also, this is out today. or tomorrow, Prince of Persia: The Rogue, and it's only early access, so there's no official reviews. But the people who've played it, other than just not having a lot of content, they say it's pretty fucking good. So keep your eye out for that if you're in the market for a Rogue. But let me tell you something. I started playing this today. This is out right now in beta. And I don't know if it's open or closed. I think it's easy to get in. I got in, I played it today. What this is, and I really recommend playing this. It's fun. I've only played one round, but it's basically Hades, right? But it's Hades with 33 players. And so you're all these dead people. It's called 33 Immortals. You're all these dead people, and you're trying to fight your way. I don't know if it's out of hell or back to the light, or I don't know what the lore is, whatever. But it plays like Hades, not quite as good as Hades. It's not as fluid. But the multiplayer part is really, really cool because it's, if somebody dies, you can revive them, and you're not going to have a chance to get out of hell unless you get to the end with as many of these people still surviving as you can. So if you get to the end and you've only got 6 people left, you're pretty much fucked. So there is a real motivation in the core loop to not just fight, but make sure your team stays alive. And it's PvE. I recommend giving it a try. Just go, it's on PC only. I don't think you're going to be able to play it on console right now. I could be wrong, but I'm almost certain that's the case. Thunder Lotus, go to their website and see about getting into the beta if you want to play. Let me know. I'll stream it. We can play together. Yeah, Voorhees looks good. I'm excited for that in Multiverses. But there's the link right there. Okay. I'm with you, Tatum. Tatum says I got to play the new Wizardry. It's a remake of the first one, but there's just too much to play. Ninja Squirrel says free-to-play live service games heavily impacted sales and game IP rolling to the next gen. Xbox saw this and why Game Pass is main business model for them. Majority of gamers are cheap and limited time to play games. I mean, yeah, I think there's a lot about Game Pass or Microsoft management that they fucked up on, but I do think what they've been right on is they have been trying to get ahead of what has been clearly a sea change in not just the industry, but the players and what the players want. Whereas Sony, is still doing great, of course, better than anyone. But it does seem, and maybe I'm biased because I had an executive tell me once that Sony was run by, he said to me once, he said, you would be so surprised to go into some of these really high level meetings, and these guys still think it's the brick and mortar days where it's all about box product. And they don't know what's happening in mobile, and they don't know what's happening in the service space. And so, that really acclimated my brain to think of the main leadership coming from Sony is just kind of being old guard, where I think Microsoft, for all their faults, and there are many, they at least seem to have an awareness that things are, there's massive changes happening out there, and they're trying to get ahead of it. In some ways they are. FBI agent says, Jaffe, are you still pro Game Pass? 100%. I love Game Pass. Nothing's changed for me. Eddie T says, brick and mortar were the glory days. I miss Babbage's in Circuit City. Yeah, but I get it. But the good news is, again, I don't know if your plans are to sell your collection, but if you're a collector and one day you want to sell, the sooner these fucking games all go digital, the more shit your stuff is worth. So, Ninja says, why Disney have invested $1 billion into Marvel Fortnite Living World for Marvel superheroes and Star Wars? They'll be living there and shooting fans on Fortnite. Yeah. Oh no, there's no doubt. There's absolutely no doubt. Disney Disney combining their efforts with Epic to basically make a living Disney universe, like a Disneyland online, not with rides, but video game versions of rides, which are called games, I suppose. It's going to be huge, it has the potential to be huge, because Fortnite, for whatever you want to say about Fortnite, and if you say something negative, you're probably wrong, has been so consistently well managed in terms of just the content drop, the frequency of it, the consistency and dependability of it. They still aren't making pay to win. It's all cosmetic for the most part. They seem to really understand how to play that game, and in that, If they can bring that to the Disney thing, it's going to be massive. Now, let me tell you something I don't get. Maybe you guys can explain this to me. So there was some kind of gaming thing today or convention or whatever. You may have seen this. And Ubisoft announced their change to Rainbow Six Siege. Okay. And here's what it was. Rainbow Six Siege, and again, correct me if I'm wrong. Rainbow Six Siege is not free. You can get it now for like $7. You can get it on Game Pass. But, you know, if you just buy it straight off a Target and there's no discounts or whatever, it'll cost you $20. Okay. So it's not free. I get it. But they've had battle passes for a while. And people seem okay. Today they announced they're doing what Fortnite does, which is Fortnite has this thing, I forget what it's called, like Fortnite Crew or whatever, where you can buy the battle pass every month, but you can also subscribe either every month or for 6 months for a better deal or whatever. And you get just some extra stuff. You get the battle pass, but you also get sort of exclusive stuff that you can only get if you're part of the exclusive club. You know, it's like a high rollers club or whatever. It's only $11 a month. So Rainbow Six says, hey, we're doing the same thing. And the fans have just been losing their shit. And I'm just wondering, I don't play a lot of Rainbow Six Siege. I just downloaded it today because I'm like, oh, I'm going to try to get back into that. Now that I'm really into Call of Duty again, I don't think I'd be very good at this game, but I want to at least, you know, play it, see what the thing is. X-Defiant I like as well, but I want to try this one. Well, no, but that's not what they're doing, Eddie. Eddie says you can't just introduce a battle pass into an old game that never had one. It did have one. It does have one. They're not saying we're introducing a battle pass. They're saying we're introducing a subscription just like Fortnite has, that if you subscribe to it, you still get the battle pass, but you also get these extra things like an extra weapon skin, an extra character skin, whatever, operator voucher. All month they'll be dropping new content, blah, blah, blah. Ninja says it's a VIP membership basically for more stuff, but it's all cosmetic, because I also did a little looking into that because I was like, well, maybe they're upset because it's pay for power. But pretty much one of the things people will say about this game, and I can't speak with experience, is that this is not a pay for power game. It is not a pay to win game. Not just because you can unlock whatever you want through gameplay, but also because you, no matter what operator you have, if you're skilled, you can rise to the top. So I was just curious if anybody was a fan of this game and they knew why these fans were so upset over this. Look, man, I love Marvel Snap. If Marvel Snap came up with a monthly subscription, like I have given Marvel Snap happily, that deservedly. I've been playing for, let's just say 18 months at this point, and every month I give them between $9 and $14, depending on the battle pass. And I have no regrets. I'm happy to do it. Lots of joy that game brings me. Lots of entertainment. Okay. If they were to say, hey, Jaffe, we're going to start saying for every month, give us $12. You get a little discount if you sign up for the year. And not only do you get what you've been getting, but we're also going to make sure that there's like 4 or 5 really cool things that you get that don't hurt the game, but are just really fun and cool. I would go, fucking sweet. What's the problem? Eddie says, I'm mad because I noticed X-Defiant has guns locked behind the battle pass, not just cosmetic. Well, yeah, but Ubisoft can go fuck themselves then. If they are going to do pay for power, and I think at this point, at least in the West, they would be morons to do so, then they deserve the hate. But that's not what they're saying, and that's not what they're showing for Rainbow Six. Ninja says he's upset because cheap gamers who don't want others to have stuff they can't afford or don't want to pay envy and me syndrome. I mean, really? I mean, really? I maybe that's no offense, man, but maybe that's a you thing. I mean, when I go in, I was playing Fortnite today because I wanted to try the car combat. And somebody had it was some skin that I didn't buy. And I was like, oh, that's really, really cool. But I'm not like, oh my God, I'm jealous. I'm like, no, because I'm fucking a grown-ass man who isn't stunted when it comes to being jealous of much of anything, let alone someone's digital toys. I don't mean to be a dick to you. I'm just saying that sounds more like, I wouldn't blame the cheap gamers. I would blame, I would blame the immature gamers. But yeah, no, if it's affecting the gameplay, that's a different thing. It's teenagers with basically no money or limited money, no adults who are teeing off. I mean, I have money and I'm an adult and I'm more than happy to pay for things. But I don't think I've ever just paid for I may have paid for one cosmetic skin on Fortnite, and that's only because I was going to be streaming game night, and I'm like, oh, let me get something a little bit more flashy than the generic, and I bought like Moon Knight from Marvel or whatever. But yeah, we'll see where it goes. But I guess I don't know why people are upset with this. This is just kind of the standard. Let's talk about this fucking story. I'm going to give you a warning, and then I'm going to give you an idea. We know that we're supposed to. There have been a lot of rumors that Sony's going to be announcing something coming soon. Jeff Grubb, in all his grubbiness, is still holding on to the line that there's going to be a state of play or a showcase this week, right? Sometime in May. Maybe not. But as part of those rumors have been swirling, one of the things that keeps coming up that we might see is a new Astrobot game. Now, there's also the statement where one of the Sony guys said we're not going to have any new franchise titles until, I think it was like third quarter 2025. So maybe this is a 2025 game, or maybe they don't consider this a franchise. I don't fucking know. Regardless, though, I think this is a stupid idea. By the way, I don't agree, Eddie. Eddie says they need games like Astrobot. I've been playing Ape Escape and I miss fun, colorful platformers. So Astrobot on PSVR was awesome. I never finished it, but it was one of the first games that when I was playing it, I was like, man, if this doesn't sell VR, I don't know what will, because it was one of the, you can't play that game not in VR. It was the coolest fucking thing to like go into the caves and stuff, and you literally had to be looking all over, even though you were playing a platform game, for things that you may have missed. And then I played the one that came for free with the PlayStation 5, and I thought that was cute and a lot of fun, whatever. Astro Playroom, there you go. But the problem is, Sony, it has really been since the days of Crash and Spyro that Sony has been able to sell and be successful with colorful platform games. Ratchet was was the worst selling game on PS5 from Insomniac. It barely broke even. Puppeteer was a great fucking game. PS3 didn't sell. The Last Slice didn't sell. The idea that they are going to continue to go back to this well, I think, is pretty fucking stupid. Concrete Genie didn't sell. The only thing I will say, though, on this, I was thinking about this. I was thinking, yeah, you want a new Jack and Daxter, but good luck. Knack didn't sell. At least not to the level of the other first-party games. What I think could be cool with this is if they lean into, here's the idea, right? If they lean into the whole point of Astrobot Playground, which if you didn't play it, he's going around kind of what in essence amounts to a museum of PlayStation memorabilia, right? So he's, there's a little God of War tips of the hat, and you go down into the basement of Sony, and there's like a HR department, if I remember. It was kind of like a very meta, like we're living inside the world of Sony. So, if these guys were to do something and say that is the hook for Astrobot, right? And every level is Astrobot going into one of these earlier Sony games, and it plays, quality of life, and it's obviously it's its own game. But if it opens and he, somehow he gets, sucked into the games, kind of like Wreck-It Ralph or whatever, and he's in Jumping Flash, and it's Jumping Flash, but it's made for PS5, and it's made with, modern controls, modern gameplay, all that, and he's literally going through these games. That, I think, would be, I don't know if it would sell necessarily, but then you would clearly be aiming it as it's a great platformer on its own, and it's got this kind of sexy hook that core gamers who grew up with all these games are going to get excited about. I think that would be something. Again, I'm not saying it would work, but it would work a hell of a lot better than basically making PSVR or whatever that was called, Astro's Adventure or whatever, just in 2D and making it with better graphics. I don't know where Sony gets the idea. And again, this isn't confirmed, but this is one of the rumors that won't die. I don't know where they get the idea that these kinds of games are... Hell, one of the best launch games was one of the best games that year was the Sackboy Big Adventure game. Alexa, stop. Which I don't think anybody fucking played. I don't think anybody fucking played that goddamn game. I mean, people did, but it wasn't, it was a disaster compared to other games. But boy, it was great. Nobody bought it. Nobody showed up for it. Sony's outselling Xbox 5-1. So what? It's got nothing to do with what we're talking about. Sean says, yeah, it was a good game. It was, exactly. Arath Izzle says, I played Sackboy to 100%. It's co-op too, right? Yeah, no doubt. They are not wrong about the type of games, but their marketing is a bad joke. They're totally wrong about the type of games because they've had marketing before. They've marketed a number of these games back in the day, whether it was Sly was never a massive hit. Sackboy was marketed pretty much as anything else was that launched with the PS5. Puppeteer was not marketed. That's true. But the audience for PlayStation, nobody seems to be able to make except like Steam retro throwbacks or Nintendo. Platformers anymore that really connect. Oh shit, Arath Izzle, you're right. There was that Bruno Mars Uptown Funk level on Sackboy. I'd never seen a level like that. People have since done it, but I had never fucking seen that. Somebody's saying, who is this? This is mass produced as a new Medieval. I mean, there's nothing about Daniel Fortescue. Nobody cares. If you greenlight a goddamn Medieval game, unless it's just got, it stands on its own outside of the very limited nostalgia, then sure. But assuming it's just a new Medieval game with the assumption that people are going to show up because Medieval's so beloved. No, it's not. Sly had a decent sized audience. What does that mean though? It certainly didn't have enough of a one to make it a premier title to keep making. Awesome Tatum says Sackboy on Steam only sold 63,000 copies. I mean, yeah, Steam's not really the place for platform games either unless they're retro or whatever. They're kid games, main audience, and Sackboy was too... The main audience of PS5 are not kids that would be into Sackboy. I'm sorry, that's just ludicrous. That is absolutely ludicrous. The kids are playing the Fortnite and the Roblox. And even if the game was easier, it still wouldn't have mattered because that's not what they're playing. I would never buy a PlayStation for playful platformers, says Shane. I want my fancy pants over the shoulder blockbusters. It's just the way it is. I mean, yeah, that's the bed they've made. They've made it beautifully, and they've really struggled to bust out of it. So, we'll see what happens. Let me see what else we got, fellas. Let me get these two super chats that I had to miss over the weekend. Stoner Joe, our good sir Stoner Joe, says, Jaffe, did you see the King Charles portrait? I did. He says, did you see Stoner Joe in the King Charles portrait? I didn't. Stoner Joe is consistently convinced that he is dealing with some sort of, that he's famous and that everyone knows who he is and we're all in on the joke, and that I don't know, that he's caused some really bad things. And if you really are serious about that, Stoner Joe, please know that none of that's true. I'm sorry you feel that way. I hope you're talking to somebody or taking some meds. But no. And thank you for the super chat, of course, as always. Thank you for being part of our community, of course. But no. I looked at this King Charles poster, picture, portrait, whatever. I did not see, you in it. Leg Fam, thank you, buddy. He says, Jaffe, I have a question. This is from Saturday. It was the I Love the Weird show, of course, which was not really game-centric, so I said I'll talk about it on this show. So, Jaffe, I have a question. How did you come up with the idea for Twisted Metal 2012 for the Shoot the Sweet Tooth Truck promotion? I didn't. I had marketing. The way marketing worked, they may still work this way, is Sony has a number of agencies that they go out to that pitch them and say, hey, we want the Twisted Metal account. We want the Uncharted account. And then depending on the ideas and the pedigree of the marketing agency, they'll say, we're going to sign with that one. So whoever we had signed with went to marketing, and maybe they had done a similar promotion, not for a video game. I don't know. But it was pitched to marketing, and then marketing ran it by me. They didn't need my approval, but they ran it by me. And I was like, okay, that's fucking awesome. But there's no way in God's green earth that legal is going to fucking let you guys do that. Fire real machine gun. I'm like, is it maybe blanks? They're like, no, these are real machine guns. And at the end, we're going to blow up the truck. We're going to load it with some explosives. It's going to be a thing. And I'm like, but that doesn't make sense. How are you going to give people on the internet control of machine guns? And they said, well, it's going to be, you can't rotate it. You can't aim it at anybody, blah, 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 blah. Okay. And we did it. And it was fun. It was cool. I had hoped the explosion, you can still see it online on YouTube. I had hoped the explosion of the truck would have been just like fucking insane. But it turned out that it was it flared up for a minute with some fire, and that was pretty much it. The one thing I will tell you that legal did get upset with. So there was I don't know. I mean, I like the guy, really nice guy, but I don't know why they thought pairing me for the live stream with a Navy SEAL. What? Maybe because of guns. I don't fucking know. Made sense. Really nice guy though. We were doing all the sort of commentary while this was happening throughout the day, and we were in a like a little trailer, not too far away from it, but far enough, and so that you couldn't get too close because the shell casings could fly into your eye and all that shit, and every now and then I would leave the trailer. And I would do like little remote things walking around with the camera people. And I said to the audience, because it was live, I said, okay, we're out somewhere in the desert in Vegas. That's all I'm going to tell you. And I said, I'm going to show you the mountain range. If you, just by looking at this mountain range, it's very, probably 30 degrees, the first person to send me a cheese pizza with extra cheese, no sauce from any pizza place, I will send you 5 free copies of the game of Twisted Metal, and I'll send you a PlayStation. And people were excited, and within like 3 minutes, we had legal on the phone. And then I'm like, you will let people on the internet fucking shoot live machine guns, but you won't let me give away some fucking games because someone's guessing, and they're like, yeah, well, what if somebody puts poison in it? What if they show up and steal one of the guns? What if the pizza guy gets in an accident on the way? We're suddenly liable. And I'm like, yeah, I know, but fuck you. Can't you guys have any fucking fun? But that's my story. But anyway, it was Leg Fam. Thank you for the super chat. It was a lot of fun. It was a great deal of fun. That was back when marketing could actually, make a big difference, in a video game. Now it's just like, release it, get some streamers to play it that are the right people to play it, and maybe you're off to the races, maybe you're not. So I was going to ask you guys the how did video games affect you? But you know what? Let's save that. Here's the question. We're going to do that on tomorrow's show, 5:00. How did video games change your life for the better? This is a thread over on Reddit. There does seem to be a recurring answer, but they're not all the same answer, but there is kind of like an answer about 70% is the same. And then it's when you get into that 30% of answers that are like really interesting. So I'm curious, have video games made your actual life, not just playing them, but when you get up from the controller, have they improved your life in any way, shape, or form? We're going to talk about that tomorrow. Also be thinking about this. This was tweeted out by Game Informer today. What game series would you like to see branch out into a different genre? What game series would you like to see branch out into a different genre? So this is going to be what we also spend some time, unless there's massive news tomorrow, but we'll definitely talk about one of those two, probably the first one on Reddit. And we'll get to this one later in the week. What series would you like to see branch out different genre? I mean, certainly, for me, when everybody asked me about Twisted Metal, if I could do Twisted Metal as a narrative-based horror game, fuck yeah. I think that fucking world is so rich for that. So be thinking about it. Don't share it right now. Share it tomorrow or on the next show. But and then when is the 30th? Thursday. So we'll definitely be talking about the Silent Hill info drop happening at 4:00 California time this coming Thursday. Again, next week, we will be streaming all the game reveals. Please give 33 Immortals a try if you have a PC. Going over there to one of these guys called Thunder Lotus and see if you can jump into the beta. I've been playing it for a while and I've been enjoying it today. I love their site though. I love this woman. She's so angry. Look at her. I mean, I've really spent too much time on this picture looking at it, but she's like looking at this guy who's talking. And I just wonder what is their deal. Like, my initial thought was, okay, they fucked each other at the holiday party and now he's kind of moved on and she's just like, you're a son of a bitch. Or maybe he's like, what we should do? We should add 10 new bosses and she's in charge of the bosses. I don't know what it is. But I'm fascinated by the story here. And everybody else seems happy. Everybody's happy here. This lady's not. This lady's upset, but she's just upset. This lady's ire is clearly aimed at this one individual. And this is important. Gun says he got into the beta, no problem. Did you try to get into the beta today? Like you tried just recently and you got in, or you tried like a week ago? I mean, it just started today, but if you did, that means there's still a lot of slots. So I really do recommend it. I want to know what people think. You got in a few minutes ago. Great. So if I stream tonight, I'll be streaming this. And if I stream this, jump in and let's play. But seriously, fellas, thank you for and Filettis, thank you for hanging out with me. Thank you for spending some time with me. I'm back tomorrow. Oh, and then again, Saturday we have I Love the Weird, and we have Lunch with Jaffe coming up Wednesday. Don't forget, if you're a member, there's a lot going on this channel. Don't be a goddamn maroon and miss out. But thank you for being here. Thank you for the super chats, the memberships, the conversation. I didn't put up the thing to call in today. We'll do calls tomorrow. I apologize about that. Skull and Bones Season 2, Alex says. I'm kind of over it. I mean, I played it for about 3 days when it came out. Nothing wrong with it. I actually kind of liked it. I liked the ship combat and stuff, but it's just, I think what it is now is it's not even just the fact that there's so much other stuff to play that's a service game, but it makes it harder for service games. Like look at Helldivers. Helldivers 2 is kind of starting to bleed players too now. Even if you're a service game and you got that right, and you're a service game that's good and you got that right, you have to be so good that you're good enough to pull you away from other service games. So like I'm going to play first thing tomorrow morning when I get up because it launches at 4 a.m. Multiverses, but I can't imagine I'll be sticking around for that. But Brawlhalla pulled it off, so maybe it's going to work. We'll see. Anyway, all right. Be well, be safe. Thank you guys very, very much. I really appreciate it, and have a good rest of your night. Adam, what are you talking about? Adam says he's waiting for his live service game to launch tomorrow. Do you mean Multiverses or your own? You made one. If you made one, tell us about it real quick before we let you go. I really do need to go, but I'm curious now. Did you make one? Multiverses, right. All right, well, I'll see you online. I'll be Jason Voorhees. Hopefully he's not too slow. All right. Where's that button go? See you, fellas. In just a moment.